to sum it up, there was an interview on the ABC with one of the leaders up here, Gulf leaders up here in the Aboriginal community, and they said, "What's your position on the voice?" And he said, "No one's been talking about it up in Doomadgee." And he said, "No one knows too much about it." He said, "We've got 5 priorities on the council at the moment, and that's not one of them." So up here, we're interested in dealing with real issues, blue cards, giving people access to work, title deeds, renal units, grocery prices, child health. They're the things we're interested in talking about in those Aboriginal communities. What the hell the voice has got to do with that, I don't know. And all these people talking about it on the TV, I've never seen them up in Doomadgee or up here trying to help me fix these issues in Parliament. We've had a conga line of Aboriginal mayors, some really good Aboriginal mayors from up here, asking for the most basic things up in these communities. And there's actually a misguided view from many Australians that these Aboriginal communities are showered in riches and they're given everything. Like, the people on the ground, really, they're not even given an opportunity to buy a house. Like, there's a lot of injustice in there, but they're the people on the ground. They have got no affinity at all with these people, these academics on the TV that are saying, we've had a stolen generation, we've got a traumatised past and everything. There's very little affinity with the people that are most, I'd say, aggrieved in the modern society, or who've been left behind. Yes. They really do need representation, but there's representation there now. We've got all the Gulf mayors, and they're they're constantly down there in Brisbane and Canberra calling for things, but there's no one listening and acting. And, I haven't really answered your question very well, but it just keeps coming back to me. This is just a smokescreen so the government can stand back and say, well, we gave you what you wanted, we gave you the representation. What else do you want? Yes. And we'll still be saying, well, we want, renal units up in Doomadgee, and we want to address the grocery prices up there, and we want to address title deeds. And we'll still be asking exactly the same questions regardless of what happens in the referendum, because you need the action on the voice. The voice itself is not that important. I think it's the action and the listening and the action on the other end that's the important part.
I have no doubt that if it were enacted, and I don't think it's going to be, I think the people are going to reject it. In fact, I always thought that, and I wrote that in pieces in Spectator. But I think that if it were enacted, it will do nothing to close the gap. It will only make it worse, because if it were enacted, all the media would then assume the gap has been solved. There's nothing further to do. They'd go away and they'd leave the issue, and it would only get worse, as has happened with every other action by the central government in relation to Aboriginal matters since the '67 referendum. Everything has been a disaster.